guys, TJ here. Welcome back to another deck profile. So just a heads up, if you haven't seen the announcement in our Discord, content is going to be a little bit irregular for the next week. Just got some personal stuff going on behind the scenes. Everyone's okay, everything's fine, but schedule's just a little bit crazy. Some people got caught up with certain stuffs, and so we just don't have our match play commentary stuff ready. So when it's gonna go up, I'll let you guys know when stuff's gonna go back to normal. But until then, just expect to probably see some deck profiles, and we do have a tier list that we're also going to be working on soon as well for the new set, as we sort of test things and figure things out where they kind of sit in the tier list, you know what I mean? So, but anyways, aside from that, welcome to a Dynasmon deck profile. Before we get into the profile, if you guys are watching this and you aren't subscribed and you've been watching our videos in general, you should do it. You should sub. We do it. There was lots of stuff, lots of good things here for you, and then that way you can hit the notification bell and know when all of our content goes live for you. And if you like the content, you can drop it a like as well, and that lets us know that we're doing the right thing and that you guys are enjoying it, and make a little bit of dopamine hit for the brain. We like that stuff. And normally deck profiles have kind of become almost like a members first thing, like exclusive on the channel, but this week, like I said, a little bit different. So for regular scheduling, maybe think about becoming a member. You get access to our weekly series of deck check, where myself and one of the other Hyper Coliseum boys goes over a sort of like, some recent topping decks from both JP and EN. And then you also get access to our members first deck profiles, where you get to suggest what deck profile we do for the week, and you get early access to it when it goes live on Mondays, as opposed to when it goes live to the public on Wednesdays. So just something to keep in mind, something to think about, and that'll be it for me yapping. Let's go ahead and jump into the deck profile here. So starting off, first things first, we run 4 copies of Kyaromon for our little baby eggs. Just standard card gets removed security, get jamming, easy enough, easy said, great card. Moving on from that, we run 3 copies of BT6 Tapirmon. We're going way back to BT6, which basically just your turn once per turn. When a card's removed from your security stack, you draw a card. Just good consistency, helpful. We only run 3 of it because we're on 11 rookies in the stack. You don't need to run full 12. You'll see the 11, 9, 7, like 3, 4, 5 split seems to work just fine in this deck so far for me personally, and it works really well because we have a lot of options that we like to run that all have to do with being trash from security or having low security stuff. Moving on from that, we run a couple of the newer cards. So the first one we're going to go over is our BT18 Candlemon, who has on play, reveal top 3 cards of your deck. You may add 1 yellow card with the data trait and 1 card with the Wichelny trait among them to the hand, and then return the rest to the bottom of the deck. So it can be a double hit off the top 3. Really nice. And then an inheritable that you'll get used to seeing that almost everything has in this deck is all turns once per turn when this yellow Digimon with the data or Wichelny trait would leave the battle area by your opponent's effects. By trashing your top security card, it doesn't leave. Awesome. We love it. We like to keep our bodies on board, and we have means of recycling our security pretty effectively once we get to our top end. So, good card. We like to have it. Moving on from that, next card we have is our BT19 Tapirmon, who has on play by trashing your top security card, gain 1 memory, which is okay. It's fine. We don't really want to use it for the on play because we don't really play it out for free with anything. And we never really need the memory like that. It might be decent like off of like a scramble once we get those eventually, but until then, he's another Evo target in the back pretty much, and then has the same inheritable of when it leaves the battle area by an opponent's effect, you may go ahead and trash top card so it doesn't leave. That's it for 3s. Moving on to our 4s, we run 2 copies of BT6 Wizardmon. I'm using this card because it's a 4-drop first of all, and then also because your turn once per turn when a card is removed from your security stack, you gain 1 memory. I'm between using this one and more of the BT18 one, just because both kind of have their merits. However, I do like this one a lot. I might end up actually leaning into this one even more, only because it helps us climb our line faster and cheat memory a bit more, which in this day and age with the current meta that we're in, you kind of need it. Let's be honest. Things just go way too fast right now, even after the Uko hits. Aside from that, we run 2 copies of the BT18 Wizardmon, as I aforementioned, who has 1 Digivolving. You can trash your top security card to draw 1 and gain memory. It's a decent option if you want to. Something you'll realize with this whole line is that you're kind of from the 4 to your 6, you're trashing a security. So you'll probably end up putting yourself with like 2 or 3 security if you climb your whole line in a single turn, which is scary. It's very, very scary to just burn yourself 3 to get a body on board that has like pretty decent protections inheritable wise, and you DP climb really well, you DP reduce pretty decently. but you know, you're putting your life pretty low, and that can sometimes just be enough for someone to pop off and really go crazy on you, especially things like Lord Knight X and stuff like that. So you know, it's keep in mind, most of these effects are optional. It's by trashing, so you don't have to do it. So you make sure you make the right calls where you need to, and always keep in mind that all of your effects for your Dynasmon pretty much require you to burn a security to actually resolve it, right? So we don't want to burn our entire security if we're already a few security chipped going up our line, because then we're not going to be able to even use our Dynasmon's effects to actually get those powerful resolutions on the board. But sorry about that rant. Moving away from that, Wizardmon, he's the same inheritable, by the way, as BT18 Candle and BT19 Tapir, where when he would leave area by opponent's effects, you can trash top security card to not leave, as long as you have data or Witchelny trait. So this deck's almost like yellow data instead of yellow vaccine, with how it kind of revolves around having that data trait, which is kind of neat. It's cool. I like it. I like the idea. Then aside from that, we run 4 copies of Wizardmon X Anybody from BT19. This card is honestly kind of gas. It's really good. So it has on play when Digivolving, you add your top security card to the hand. Then if Wizardmon or X Anybody is in this Digimon's Digivolution cards, you may place 1 use cost 5 or lower yellow or purple option card from your hand as the bottom security card. So this means we can basically place all of our options that we run in the deck, which we run things like Odin's Breath, Revelation of Light, Dragon's Roar, the brand new option that is for Dynasty. We run all of those, so you can place all those at the bottom of security, which is good. It means that, you know, you can kind of set up your security when the game gets really late and you have that last check there to have an effect that can hopefully, you know, help you stay alive in the game. And then Inheritable, same thing of, you know, keeping you safe from your opponent's effects as long as your data over Witchelny. That's it for 4, or sorry, no, sorry. One more Digimon. We run 1 copy of the BT15 Gatomon, the SR that has Barrier, and then all turns once per turn when a card is moved from your security stack, you gain a memory. Mostly because we're trashing security a lot, and sometimes it can be nice to just get like the occasional free body out on board with it. It doesn't come up super often. You're not usually able to place it there by other means, but I've had a few times now where I burn security so much that I do just inevitably hit it. I am considering just taking it out just to run more of the BT6 Wizardmon, though. That's something you maybe could do if you don't have any of this card and you have some of the older cards. Or you can run the BT18 Wizardmon as well if you want to do that. But just, you know, it's a little tech choice and it's a little cute. It's fun. We'll see if it sticks around. I'm not too sure. I'm still testing everything, as I've said before. So that's it for 4s. Moving on to our 5s, we run 4 copies of the BT18 Mistymon. So he has Barrier, first of all, which is really nice. And then on play when Digivolving, by trashing your top security card, change one Digimon's original DP to 6,000 until the end of your opponent's turn. So keep in mind, this can be your Digimon, this can be your opponent's Digimon. You can choose anything. So that really helps because pretty much all of our effects minus 6 KDP. Now the issue with this is that most things have some sort of inherent boost to their DP thanks to either being an X Anybody card that has the correct thing in their sources, or just general inheritables that give them plus 1k all turns, or maybe they got a DP buff that lasts until the end of your turn when it was their turn. So it's not great, it's not fantastic, because it only changes the original DP, not just the DP in general. So you'll set their DP down to 6k, but any buffs they have added onto that will climb it back up. So that's a little bit tough, but still a decent card. And he has the all turns, once per turn effect, inheritable, of when a card is removed from your security stack, unsuspend this Digimon. All of our Dynasmon stuff remove security pretty much, so it's a very good card, and it helps us with our aggression because we get that unsuspend. And he's also a 3-cost Evo, so that's why we're running 4 of him for this deck, because he works with the whole data Witchelny stuff, because he does have the Witchelny trait in there. He's a virus Digimon, keep in mind, which I think is really weird, but, you know, it is what it is. Moving on from that, we run 3 copies of Skull Beluchimon. This card's actually pretty nutty. I could see you running 3 of this, or 4 of this, and 3 of the Misty. The only reason I'm at 3 is because he's a 4-cost Evo no matter what, who can gain a memory, but you only gain the memory by burning your security. So he has 1 Digivolving. By trashing your top security card, delete one of your opponent's level 4 or lower Digimon, which is really good, so you can go ahead and clear those memory floodgates to guarantee that you can get the memory back for this. Unless they have multiple of them on the board, then that's a problem. And then you gain 1 memory. So you can become a 3-cost Evo, but you have to pay the cost of trashing your security, which can be kind of tough late game if you're a little bit slow. So we don't always want to do that, right? So Mistymon ends up being usually a better option in this case sometimes, but he's still a good card. And then he has all turns, same thing as Mistymon, where when a card is removed from your security stack, you can unsuspend this Digimon. So that's it for our 5s. Good cards, solid effects. It's also just cool to see Skull Beluchi again too. I like some of the Digimon in this deck in general, so that's why I'm kind of passionate about it, despite it being very sort of middling in terms of tiers. Moving on from 5s, we'll move on to our 6s. So we'll start off with the brand new Dynasmon Ace. I actually like this card a lot. I think it's really cool. So it has Raid inherently, which is really nice. Then it has on play, when evolving, and when attacking, not once per turn. Keep in mind. By trashing your top security, the top card of your security stack, one of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 6,000 DP until the end of their turn. So this is supposed to work with Mistymon, where Misty sets them to 6k, and then you go ahead and Dynas Ace, or just Evo into Dynas for a hard Evo of 4, and then minus 6k on it and pop the body. It's kind of just a weird way of just being like, hey, I'm going to delete a Digimon, but I'm very restricted on how I do it. It honestly would have just been better if it was just like on Evo, minus 12k on one Digimon, and it was like once per turn or something like that. I don't know. Maybe that'd be a little bit too nutty, actually. If it was minus 12k once per turn when attacking, that might be a little bit too nutty. But things DP climb so crazy right now that I don't even know if it would matter that much. Also, so many things have like DP reduction protection too. Like if you run into a machine deck, you just cry. It's just over. But anyways, you know, aside from what may or may not be balanced in my little small pea brain, it also has the alternative effect of when or while you have 3 or fewer security cards, this Digimon gains blocker and plus 4 KDP, which is pretty good. I mean, he can be a 16k blocker when you're at 3 or less security. You also, I mean, having raid also is sort of slept on. It's pretty nice for being able just to swing over your opponent's unsuspended bodies in case they had to pass turn and we're not able to push aggression that turn, and you're able to keep turn by going up your line with everything. But good card, solid ace card too, that, you know, because he gains blocker, right? You can potentially minus 6k on something and then just block it at 16k. You'll be bigger than a lot of things at that point if you went after the minus 6. So that's pretty nice, pretty decent card, but overflow is painful and our protections are pretty decent. However, with all the source strip coming back around, like Hexablamon being teched into any deck that has blue as a color in it, he is not as reliable as we would like him to be. So that's something that, you know, that we got to be mindful of. Moving on from him, we have 2 copies of the BT19 Dynasmon, who is on play when digivolving by trashing your top security card. One of your Digimon gains blocker and plus 6 KDP until the end of your opponent's turn, which is pretty nice. You can become a 17k blocker that likes to chill, and we don't hate that. And then alternates once per turn. When this Digimon would leave the battle area, if you have 2 or fewer security cards, you can recover 1. So this works well with our protections, right? Where it's not an on-deletion, it's an alternate when you would. So if something tries to remove you, you can technically use this effect to go ahead and recover 1 first if you're at that sort of 2 or fewer threshold, and then use your inheritable to trash your top security to stay in the game or keep the body on board. So he can cycle his own protection into security even if you're at 0 security. So it's pretty nice, decent card for that whole sort of idea of things. It is only once per turn though, something to keep in mind. So you can't do it more than once if they keep on trying to pop you with multiple things like Levia, for example. But otherwise, cool card. We like him. He's also 3 cost Evo. That's the other main reason why we run him. On top of the DP boost being decent with when paired with our Dynasmon X Antibody. So yeah, that's it for him. Moving on to our final level 6, our new sort of main boss monster for the deck. The new Dynasmon X Antibody, such a cool card. I love this card's effects so much. It's just in the vacuum that it's in. It's compressed down to not want to be loved by this meta. But it has raid and blocker inherently, which is really nice. And then when digivolving, when attacking once per turn. If Dynasmon or X Antibody is in this Digimon's Digivolution cards, by trashing the top card of your security stack, trash the top card of your opponent's security stack, which is really nice. And this Digimon gets plus 6 KDP until the end of your opponent's turns. When you pair this with your BT19 Dynas, the rare, you can be sitting at what would be 24k potentially. And you can also just sort of swing and burn a damage really too, or really or really good as well. So, you know, it's pretty nice, pretty decent card. You can sit and be a big, just ignorant blocker with decent protection inheritables. That can be really annoying for a lot of decks in the format right now. But like I said, because we burn security so crazily moving up our line, it can be really hard to consistently do this. However, he does have the very handy effect of end of your turn. If you have 2 or fewer security cards, you can recover 1. And keep in mind, it's not a once per turn. So in conjunction with our BT8 Kari that you can see in the list right past that ruin mode there. If you somehow like pass your opponent over to 1, end of turn, recover 1, you can tap Kari to actually bring turn back to your side. Put it in, let's say you were at like 1 security, so you put yourself back to 2. You can then go ahead and, you know, do your whole thing. You can swing again if you want. You can maybe find some other means of passing turn by playing a training or something like that. I don't know. You know, you can dream the ideas. And then you can actually just end of turn recover again, which is nice. It's cool. We like that. We like being able to recover multiple security in a turn when, you know, done with certain things. That's it for level 6s. Moving on to level 7s, we run 1 copy of Ruin Mode. I mean Ruin Mode. There's not much else to say. It's a good card. If you're playing yellow or purple, there's almost no reason not to run it. Most of the time, unless you don't really build a line normally. Even right now, honestly, I'm considering just taking it out because I would like to have another Kari in here. And I don't want to cut on my options anywhere because I do like my options where they're at right now. But we'll see what I end up doing the more I test it. So that's it there for that. That's our Digimon lineup. For Tamers, we run 2 copies of BT8 Kari Kamiya. She's a mem setter. And then also, whenever a card's added to our security stack, we can suspend her to gain a memory. We like it. It's good. Moving on from her over to our options. Here we run a lot of options, or at least a lot of different options. We run 2 copies of Odin's Breath. Keep in mind, all of our sort of main line options, aside from the Xeni bodies and the physical training, all have ability, or all have the effect of when they're trashed from security, they can activate their effects, which is really good because we are trashing our security a lot. So Odin's Breath is obviously minus 3k, and then if there's 6 or fewer total security cards in both player security, or cross both player securities, all of your opponent's Digimon get sec -1 until the end of turn. And then its regular security effect is just the same thing. Good option. It's 5 costs. We can go ahead and place it with Wizard X at the bottom of our security. We run 2 copies of Revelation of Light. Again, activates its effects when it's trashed from security. Has main, search your security stack, play 1 yellow level 4 or lower Digimon card among it without paying the cost. Then shuffle your security stack. If you have a Tamer with Kari Kamiya in its name, place this card on top of your security stack, which is really good. It acts like a sort of like pseudo Ruin Mode when paired in conjunction with Ruin Mode. It can be a minus 10k to their board potentially, depending on how you set up the play, and if they check security or not, and they forget about it, which happens. People forget security pretty often. I know I do a lot. And then security effective is that whole thing. So that's the whole the minus 5 KDP. You activate the security effect. And otherwise, it's just like a decent option just to kind of free slam out a body on board and kind of help set up your security a bit more if you have Kari on board. It's a good card. It's decent. It's nice. And it's only 4 cost, which is pretty good. Moving on from that, we have 4 copies of Physical Training. Enough said there. Search, consistency, Evo a lot faster. We like to climb our lines, and we want that to help us do it. And then we run 1 copy of the BT18 Dragon's Roar. I'm back and forth on this option. It can activate its security effect when trashed from security, which is nice. And then while you have a yellow Digimon with the Data or Wachelny trait in play, you can ignore its color requirements, so we don't need a red source in here. As long as we have Data or Wachelny in traits, we can go ahead and play this card pretty freely. The issue is that the card itself is not the greatest, so the card effect is by trashing your top security card. One of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 6 KDP until the end of their turn. Then, if you have 2 or fewer security cards, you can place this as your bottom security card. So it's only really worth playing like hard slamming, like when you're already kind of low on security. And it does have the benefit of like security delete one or security effect being delete one of your opponent's Digimon with 6 KDP or less. Then, if you have 0 security cards, recover +1. So it helps you stay in the game longer. But the card itself, it feels bad to hard slam as a 5 cost because you don't really get that much value out of it aside from like the recovery. And while the minus 6k can occasionally make a difference, some decks just wideboard so fast, or the DP climbs so high that they don't care, or they get protections and then they don't care. So it's a decent option. I might take it out just to put another Odin's Breath in. I really want to run cards that are like tribal with Dynasmon, so I'm being stubborn and keeping it at 1 in there just as on the off chance that like I can place it and then also keep me in the game longer with the recovery. And then aside from that, we run a pretty standard X Antibody suite here. We're just 1 copy of BT9 X Antibody because we do have some decent effects that work when we swing. Like we can swing either of our Dynasmon and go ahead and BT9 X Antibody to go into our Dynast X, and then activate the Digivolving effect to trash our top security, to trash our opponent's top security, do the check at like, some high DP number, and then unsuspend with our level 5 inheritables. So that's pretty good. We do like that. And also it being able to be like, or it having the effect of not being able to be stripped from your sources can come up big with all the source strip, because that means it can keep our Dynasmon X online, even if we run into something like Hexablow. It also helps us keep our Tamers on board too. In case Hexablow does source strip us and want to bottom deck a Tamer, you can't strip this card, so they can't bottom deck the Tamer. You'll have Digimon with sources. And then 3 Portal Forms. You don't have to do this. You can just run more BT9X Antibody if you want, or you can run more Dragon's Roar, more Revelation, more Odin's Breath. Portal Form is just a nice way of helping climb our line. Skull Bellucci's X Antibody, so it can help reduce the cost there. Wizard X is X Antibody, so you can just get the card in your sources there if you just want to have it in sources to recur pieces later on, because he doesn't cost anything to Evo over a Wizard, so that's nice too. Or you can just make him a 2-cost Evo if you don't see your other Wizards. And then also just helps us make our Dynast X a free Evo when we go over one of our Dynasmon with it, so it's a good card. That's it for the card list there. Onto tech choices. Really, I think these are kind of a lot of the standard cards you want to run with it. You can maybe just sort of mess around with the ratios a bit. I haven't seen too many people cook too many different things with this deck, like archetype, yet, because it's so early on into its existence. There's not too many yellow data cards out there for us to use just yet. Hopefully we get some more with Chelney stuff we can play around with as time goes on. You know, it's Dynasmon. He's a Royal Knight, so he'll inevitably see more support eventually. I just hope that they don't switch it up on him as they go on. I hope that they just kind of keep it so that way it just helps boost the cards that we already have present. Because I don't think these cards are bad in a vacuum. They just don't have the same level of like aggression that other decks do, or the same level of like unfairness, I guess, that other decks do right now, where they just can infinitely recur pieces and chip damage and climb DP for free. Like, you know, it just gets crazy. They don't have to trash security, like trash their life force, because that's, or life source, like health bar. You know what I mean? You get what I'm saying? That's our tech choices though. Good matchups, bad matchups. Honestly, you have a pretty good matchup against anything that doesn't source strip you, right? You can DP climb pretty well. You can recover your security decently enough, so long as they're not like a huge OTK deck, something like Mirage, for example, or Ancient Grey. I think Mirage, even with Mirage, I think you're actually pretty okay, because you can at least do the sec -1 on them, and that can bother them because they don't get sec +1 from anything really. But things like Red Hybrid, that will just blow you out of the water, because they'll just say, hey, no security effects, sorry, hey, I'm higher DP than everything on your board, okay. You know, they're very, very hard to deal with. Those are probably some of your worst ones there. I know I was saying good ones, but I'll do the rest of the worst ones first, I guess. So those two, namely, might be a little bit tough. Mostly Red Hybrid, Mirage, not too bad. Otherwise, Source Strip. So Blue Hybrid, Hexablau, tribal, like Ice or Ice Snow tribal decks, stuff like that. Anything that runs Hexablau. Imperial with their Tamers, you know, that is all rough for you, and that's kind of the main reason why we don't see this deck around anywhere, I think, is because there's just so much Source Strip sort of back in the meta, even if it's just sort of like sprinkled into other archetypes now, that it just makes it very hard for us to do what we want to do, and keep our protections like live and on board. But that's it for bad matchups there. You get the idea. As for good matchups, like I said, if it's a deck that isn't doing one of those things previously listed, where it's not ignoring security and it's not source stripping you, I think you have a decent chance. I think you can win out the matches. You can do pretty good, especially against other control decks that want to play a bit more of a grind game. You have a decent chance of winning those, because you can recover security pretty consistently so long as Dynasmon stays on board, and you can trash your opponent's security. So even if they're blocking you and stopping you from chipping, you can go ahead and keep trashing their security by trashing your own security, and then you recover. So eventually you'll just sort of out snowball them, and you're a big blocker too. So you can unsuspend yourself. So you know you have plenty of means of doing cool things with this deck. So that's gonna be it. That's the deck profile there. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Let me know what you guys think about it in the comments down below. If there's any other tech choices or card choices, if you guys are also cooking with Dynasmon, let me know what you're cooking. I want to see. Join our Discord. Post your list in there. I'd love to see it. I want to know. I want to make this deck work as best I can, and I do that by bouncing ideas off of you fine folks. So that's gonna be it for us. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll catch you guys on that flippy flip. Bye bye.